Welcome back, guys. Another edition of the Athletes Hub podcast, joined by my good buddy Jay. How's it going, mate?
Hey, good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. Feeling Christmassy in the festive spirit or nah?
Yes, just counting down now. Can't wait for the big fixtures to come up. So yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, same. I mean, fixtures are coming thick and fast now. I'm just hoping for a few more sort of United wins, and hopefully you'll feel a lot more Christmassy and a lot more festive in that respect. But no, thanks for joining me, Jay. I thought it would be good to kind of go over sort of the midpoint of the Premier League season. It's been quite eventful so far, to be fair. And I know we spoke previously when Graham Potter was sacked at West Ham. And through that conversation, we actually sort of discussed other clubs briefly and what the table will look like at this point in the season. So I thought it would be good to kind of just go over, the team so far, talk about their progress, look back at predictions that we might have made, and just see potentially how the season could end. It's still quite early though, because December again. Usually when you get to sort of February, March, that's when the season it's really crunch time. But at the same time, I think when you're at this stage of the season, it gives you a bit of an indication as to where clubs are going to finish. So I thought it'd be good to go over that and sort of discuss that really. But I think firstly, when you look at the top of the table, you've got Arsenal sitting there, 2 points clear of Man City. I think at the beginning of the season, I don't know who you predicted to win the league, but I felt as if Arsenal was very well equipped to go the whole way this season. Again, Man City have got the experience of winning the Premier League. And I know Arsenal lost against Villa last minute, couldn't beat a 10-man Chelsea. And I think they lost to Liverpool earlier in the season as well. But I look at the rest of the clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, I don't think are ready to win the title. City do have the experience of winning Premier League titles. But again, it's a different squad now. I think they're at a different stage as to when you're in the middle of Pep's reign. And I just can't see many clubs kind of pushing Arsenal. I know it's only 2 points, but I feel as if at the moment their squad is superior. I think City have to have everyone fit to have a run of winning games. And again, you're not really sure if they're going to win all those games. So for me, I can't really see any more sort of pushing Arsenal for the title. What's your thoughts on Arsenal? And do you feel as if there are other challenges that could push them?
See, at the beginning of the season, I thought Liverpool, the fact that they brought in such big players like Isak, for instance, coming in, proven Premier League player, I thought Liverpool would have been absolutely smashing it out of the park. But I'm quite surprised with Arsenal, the fact they've got one of the youngest starting 11s in there. They did bring in some key players like Eze, who scored the hat-trick against Tottenham. But then you can't rule Man City out, the fact that they've won 6 titles in the last 7 seasons. And yeah, yes, they've lost key players like Kevin De Bruyne, who used to control it, but some of their other players like Erling Haaland, who's coming in and absolutely smashing it with his 100th goal the other week.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel, again, going back to Man City, I think everyone's kind of convinced, and again, after Christmas, after New Year, they always tend to pick up form. They always tend to go on a run, right? But when I look back and compare the teams, we had, David Silva in a team, Gundogan, Kyle Walker, Fernandinho, Aguero, Alvarez. They had options, right? Mahrez. I look at this team currently right now, Man City, and I don't look at them and feel as if, yes, they've got the experience in their team of winning the league titles, but when I look at Arsenal, they've only lost 2 Premier League games all season, right? And that's, even at this stage, that's still a very good record. And again, you look at their squad, you mentioned Eze there, Gyökeres has obviously come in, Madueke's done really, really well since he's joined Arsenal. They've got different tools there, right? And I don't see other clubs around them, whether it's Liverpool, who are all over the place, whether it's Chelsea, who are a bit hit and miss right now. Obviously, City have the experience, but I don't see anyone who's really going to kind of push Arsenal for that league title. Would you make them favourites still? Or would you say that another club would potentially win the Premier League?
If going back from previous seasons where they've had the injuries hit left, right, and centre, if they can keep their players fit, I think Arsenal could run away with it this season. But as I say, you never know with injuries, international breaks, and again, they're still in the Champions League and stuff like that. You never know. With Man City coming up behind, the fact that they beat Real Madrid as well. You can't rule Man City out. Again, they still got key players there. They've got the Ruben Diaz. They've still got now Donnarumma in goal, which strengthens their defence. And then still Erling firing on cylinders. Phil Foden can still come in.
What if Haaland gets injured? You speak about sort of like Gyökeres going to Arsenal. Arteta still played Marino, who scored a couple of crucial goals. They've still got Jesus to come back from his injury as well. I think he's back. To be fair, and they've also got Trossard, who contributes to goals. Eze, you mentioned before, got a hat trick against Tottenham in North London derby. Madueke scoring, Saka can score. They've got different options along the front line, but it feels as if with City, if Haaland's not fit and he's not firing, he's not playing, where the goal's going to come from?
Yeah, it is, as you said before, when they had Alvarez sitting on the bench ready to come on, and they don't have that now. But that's where then, just like over at Liverpool, you need that backup player.
Yeah,
you need every player, in the team to contribute to the goals. It can't just come from one player. And again, Arsenal struggled from that. They were always having that number 9, but they were still contributing goals. That's why they was finishing still top half of the table. They were just looking for someone like Gyökeres or Madueke to come in and just push their numbers to that next level.
So if you had to make a prediction, I know again I mentioned before it's still quite early in December, but if you had to make a prediction of who's going to win the title based on what you've seen so far this season, who would you I guess bet on winning the Premier League?
Again, it's going to be controversial. I've got a feeling City are going to just pip it at the end. They're going to, if Arsenal, again, from previous seasons, keep their players fit, it's going to be them. But City, you can't rule them out. They're only 3 points to go top of the table, and that's only one loss for Arsenal extra. And how about yourself?
I think I'm sticking with Arsenal, to be fair. I think, again, I agree with City picking up a run after Christmas and after New Year. They're always better in that stage of the season, right? But I just look at Arsenal, and the fact they've only lost 2 games all season says a lot. It says that they're hard to beat and they don't drop many points. But I just look at their team and I just feel as if with City, the only concern I'll have is everyone has to stay fit. If everyone's not fit, I don't think they challenge Arsenal for a long period. Again, they're in the Champions League as well, Man City. They're going to play a lot of games. You've got the FA Cup coming up as well. So you've got to rotate your squad, right? And I just don't feel they've got the capacity to deal with all these competitions and still chase Arsenal. We've got different options and win the league. So I thought Arsenal will... I think it's in Arsenal's hands. I feel like if they can win all their games, like I mentioned, they've dropped points against Chelsea, who they probably should have beat, lost to Villa last minute. But it's really in their hands. If they win their games, I think someone needs to really push them and be consistent enough to make Arsenal sweat. Yes, it's 2 points, but at the same time, I feel like they've got Wolves coming up at time of recording. They've got Wolves to play. I think they'll beat Wolves, and they'll just keep that going, right? So I think Arsenal, for me, based on their squad size, based on their record so far, I think they're the team to beat, to be honest. So I wouldn't bet against Arsenal, to be fair. If we're looking at sort of relegation now, the bottom of the table, I think Wolves, we can all agree that they're down and out now, to be honest. Man United beat them very, very convincingly on Monday. And I think right now, I feel like they're probably just playing to not be the worst Premier League team of all time, to be honest. But I mean, again, they're down and out. What have we made of Wolves, though? What have we made of Rob Edwards so far? I know he sort of left Middlesbrough, came into to Wolves mid-season. This is his dream job, he said. But at the moment, they're struggling to get any type of confidence going, or any type of form.
Well, no matter who was coming in that door, you was going to have a big issue. And the fact that now, at the time of recording, as you said, they've had 0 wins, 2 draws, and 13 losses. It is big. They did come back and score against Man United.
That was shocking. I don't know how United can see. Again, that says everything you need to know about the club at the moment, that they're conceding to Wolves, but carry on.
But the fact that then they go and get another, I think it was a 4-1 in the end of it. It just, they just can't hold on to the game at the moment. It's those pressures. Once a team, gets taken out, and the fact that also they've had such high turnover in their players and stuff like that. Because again, a couple of years ago, Craig Dawson, who would be in that team that would lead Wolves out there. But the fact that they've lost most of their experience and their leadership, and now again they've just recently brought Rob Edwards in. It's going to be a tough task for them to stay up this season. Do you think they win another? I know they've got 2 points sitting at the bottom of the table. Do you think they win another game, or you think that they're not going to get another win this season? I think potentially if they go against someone like Burnley again in the second half of the season, or maybe even not. Just one of those teams just having a bad day. Again, one of the higher teams, look at Chelsea, they lost against Leeds, who sitting on the bottom half of the table. But yeah, one game could just turn it as a 1-0 win. It's still 3 points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But do you think Robert would last the season? Or do you think
I think he'll last. I think with it coming to Wolves, I felt as if it was a done deal anyway. I think they accepted they were going to go down. I said it even with Flexx when we were discussing a weekly roundup before he was appointed. I said, well, they probably accepted they're going to go down, and now it's a case of they're just building now to come back to the Premier League at some point. Because I don't think anyone would realistically feel he's going to come into Wolves at that point and then change it. Get some sort of manager bounce which sees them win 4 games on the spot on the go. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think they've made that appointment knowing that they're going to go down realistically, and it's just a case now they're going to kind of try and build and come back to the Premier League at some point. I think it'll be tricky though, mate, because Wolves have not really invested a lot in their squad, and I think the frustration from fans is that they're not really investing in their squad and they're not really spending money. They've let Neto go. Obviously, Cunha left to go to Man United. Kilman went to West Ham, I think, a couple of years ago as well. So they've not really replaced these players. And I think the frustration from the fans is that, they're just not competing on that front. So I feel like they've accepted that they're going to go down. It's going to be a slow build. They're going to come back into the Premier League at some point. But I don't think Rob will lose his job before end of the season because it wouldn't make sense. Because who could you bring in there now that's going to turn it around? To be honest, they've got 2 points, 15 games, 2 points. Like, who's going to come and turn that around? You're not a magician. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think he'll lose his job, to be fair. But look at the rest of the teams, though. But you've got Burnley in there. You've got West Ham, Forest, Leeds. Who do you think is going to... If yes, I don't know. It's a tight one because Leeds have obviously picked up some points recently. I think Burnley are in trouble. I think Burnley have to rely on their home form to stay up, but I still feel like they're in trouble right now. Exactly. Who would you kind of put in that sort of bracket with Wolves that could potentially go down this season?
As you mentioned, Burnley, they had the championship dominance. They were absolutely firing all cylinders. But now, again, with coming into the Premier League, it's a different ball game. They're conceding early. Like Newcastle the other week, they lost 2-1. They got the first goal. Yes, they did go down to 10 men, but they still were like forced to chase the game. Man City was the other one, 5-1. I know it is Man City, they are second in the Premier League, but yeah, it's just they went 1-0 down and just basically were struggling to get hold of the game. And also the fact that they haven't got the squad depth again, as we mentioned, yes, maybe with City, but the players that they can attract coming up is going to be difficult. And also the last couple of years, 2 of the 3 minimum teams that have gone up have gone straight back down again. So yeah, I've got a feeling Burnley, and then again West Ham is potentially, much it would pay me to say, is the third team that could go down.
Yeah. So what about Leeds? Because Leeds, they've picked up a couple of results recently, have they? And they look a bit of a better side at the moment. Do you feel like they could be? I still feel Leeds will be in and around sort of the relegation sort of zone. But do you feel like they could be one that could potentially stay up, or would you say that they're pretty much, there's a good chance they could go down this season?
With Leeds, again, as you said, with Chelsea, they turn them over. You just need a couple of games in form to get that run going. I don't see him going in the top half of the table. But as I say, yes, there'll be more. The lower half, there's always going to be one team that's going to be a lower half, but Leeds, I think they're going to be one of the teams that's surviving. The same with Fulham as well. The same with even like Nottingham Forest. I think again they're going to get through just by scrape of their teeth. With the fact that West Ham just got no firing up front at the moment either.
So if you had to predict 3 to go down, I think Wolves, again, I've said before, I think they're down and out. I can't see them surviving. If you had to sort of predict the other 2 clubs to go down with them, what would your final prediction be?
I think it's got to be, Wolves are, as you said, gone. West Ham, I think, would, again, if they don't bring anyone in January for the front 3, they're gone out the window. And potentially, actually, I could see Nottingham Forest again. They're not playing great at the moment. It all depends of who people bring in January. The fact, again, Burnley, if they can bring in a proven striker or even a defender as well, they could turn the fortunes around. But yeah, I can't see. I'd say my prediction would be Wolves, Burnley, and West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah, I think again Wolves for me are going to go down. I think Burnley will go down as well. I think West Ham, as much as you've mentioned about no firepower in the team and particularly up front, I still feel like he's trying to build a team that's hard to play against, a team that will get results, and ultimately sort of I think just about scrape through. But I feel like they'll still survive though. West Ham. I feel like they'll still survive. If I had to make a prediction for this other team to go down, I think it might be Leeds. I think Leeds will lose form again. I think there's been question marks over Daniel Farke and his selection, and I feel like they'll probably go down. To be fair, I don't think they'll have. I don't think, as much as they've got results so far, I don't think you can be confident that they're going to have a long run of games and not lose a game. And that's my worry about Leeds. I feel like they'll concede goals, they'll lose matches, and potentially as a result, they'll go down. To be fair, so I'll probably say Wolves, Burnley, and Leeds United to go down. And 1 second, mate, I want to try and draw my curtain because the sun's here.
No.
So okay, cool. Yeah, so those are the relegation predictions. I think one other thing I want to kind of talk about, I spoke about Mo Salah in the week as well. I think we all saw his comments after the Leeds United draw 3-3, went into the mix zone, and he basically let his feelings be known. He spoke about how he's been thrown under the bus by the club. He's not had a relationship with Arne Slot since last season. He's been made promises and that they've not kept. And it all seemed a bit messy after that, to be honest with you. And we just found out that he's actually going to be involved against Brighton in the squad for the game over there on Saturday. What did you make of Salah's comments, firstly? And also, are you surprised that he's been integrated back into the squad?
See, with his comments itself, it's definitely frustration, the fact that he's been hitting 20 goals a season. Yes, this season he hasn't hit the same forms, and yeah, but it is extremely unlike Salah. Like the fact that he's blamed Arnie, he's blamed someone in the up higher in the club. So it is really weird, the fact that he's come out, and again he's come from the bench, he's walked through the media point. He could have just carried on walking, but he stopped and actually done the interview. But the fact that he starts, it's either going to do one or two things. It's either if he scores and they win the game, it's going to give Mo Salah that platform to go, well, I told you so. On the flip side, if he doesn't perform and he has to go back on the bench, it's back on a Slot side to go, well, I told you he's not hitting that form. He needs to stay on that bench. So it's a bit of a flip of a coin to see how they play again today. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's going to start the game. I think you probably put him back in the squad. But it's a weird one for me because, like I said during my sort of review about the comments, Salah's not played well enough this season. And I think when he came out with the interview, there was no accountability about, okay, I've not been at my best this season. I'm going to put my hands up and say, well, I've underperformed. His thing was more like, well, they threw me under the bus. They betrayed me. I'm getting all the blame and stuff like that. There was no sort of sense of like, okay, I've played a part in this mess as well. And he's not been the only one. But I think Van Dijk, when he's had bad performances, he's always come out and he's always said, look, I've not been at my best. I put my hands up. As a team, we've not been great. And as an individual, I've also struggled to maintain the form of last season. But I think with Salah, he's kind of isolating himself from that. He's kind of saying, well, even his comments about not having to fight for his place because he's earned it, it kind of looked as if he was kind of thinking about himself and looking out for himself as opposed to the team. Because when everything was going well last season, he was getting a lot of plaudits at that point. But when things are going wrong and you're finding a bit of a tough period, this is where you as a senior man have to stand up and actually be counted and actually show, what you're made of, to be fair. And I feel as if he kind of, because again, the mix zone as well was weird. He never stops in the mix zone. He's never in the mix zone. So the fact that he stopped after the mix zone in the game suggested to me that all these comments were just something that he had planned already. And I don't see how, after his team just drew 3-3, how those comments help. And he's an experienced player. He knows when he comes out and makes those comments, in the real world, all those media attention is not going to be about the result. It's going to be about his comments. So by him coming out and doing that, it was just a bit strange to me. And the fact that Slot's integrating back into the team, I'm surprised, because I didn't feel as if Slot would integrate him back into the team, maybe until after AFCON, to be fair. I know he's got the AFCON tournament coming up next month. So a lot of people did feel as if that was it for Salah, like he would not play for Liverpool again. And I'm a bit surprised as to how he's been integrated so quickly back in the team. Maybe the manager feels like, okay, well, look, you've made these comments in public now. I'm going to start you, like you said, and then now go and show us what you can do. Back up your comments. Because if you go out there and you don't play well, everything you've said previously doesn't make sense. Because you're saying that you should be playing, it will make a difference, right?
Classed as a scapegoat, though. Because as you said, with Van Dijk, he's not been performing, but all the attention, except up until the comments of Salah, has still been about Salah not performing, whereas no one's picked up on Virgil van Dijk not playing well. Andy Robertson, like, he wasn't playing great. Alisson letting in the goal. So these players that are, the only person that's really getting stand out at the moment is Mo Salah because of how consistent he's been, not just this season, well, from last season, but as I say, he's been going back and he's been injured.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been a scapegoat. I think all the players have been highlighted. Even Konate's had a really bad start to the season. Like, he's been highlighted as someone who struggled. Obviously, Fabian Wirtz hasn't really settled into life in England so far, and obviously, Isak hasn't done what we know he can do, what he showed at Newcastle. So I think every player's had their, had a spotlight on them in terms of how poor they've been. I think, but again, it goes back to it last season when Liverpool were doing great and he was scoring all those goals and in the form of his life, he was getting all the plaudits last season. We weren't really talking about the likes of Van Dijk as much, or even Trent was getting a lot of stick because he obviously going to move to Real Madrid. So Salah was getting all the praise when it was going well. But again, if you come out and you say, you've been thrown on the bus, you've done. He said even said after all I've done for the football club. So again, he feels like he's been owed something. But if that's the case, when it's tough and your team needs you to stand up and be counted, that's when you make a difference. Rather than going on in the mix on and making comments, that's going to come out, right? So again, if he's starting against Brighton, then he's now got to go out and perform and show what he can do. Otherwise, all the comments you've made previously doesn't really hold any water at that point, right? But even though he's back in the squad, do you feel like he will play for Liverpool? Do you feel like he will have a future there, or do you think that's it now?
Me personally, I think he's got to play because, most probably as a Liverpool fan, the same way that with Ronaldo, for instance, it's sad to see a player of someone who's been so consistent, such a top talent, sitting on the bench for the rest of the season. But again, do you let him go in the middle of January, which is the middle of a big season, which you're trying to defend a title? Well, I know you're only about 7th, 8th at the moment, but again, you're trying to defend that title, or do you just let him sit on the bench and stay there for the rest of the season? Or again, do you try and go, you know what, he has been our top performer, let's bring him in? Because again, Szoboszlai, he's playing in that right-hand position, but that's not his natural position. His natural position's in the middle, and you've got no one really who's, again, Isak's not hitting it, Ekitike's not hitting it, Florian Wirtz is not hitting it. Who do you bring in to put in that position? So do you just give him that second chance to play in that position again?
I don't know. I think, and I mentioned in my review about the comments, I think when you make the comments he's made, I find it difficult to see how it goes back and everything's rosy again, because you're essentially saying the club has lied to you. You said the club are throwing you on the bus. There's no relationship with Arne Slot. So I don't see how magically that can all go back to normal again. So I feel like probably if he does play a part against Brighton, I still feel as if either in January or in the summer at the very least, he won't be there no more. Because I don't see how you can repair that relationship. When you come out and you publicly slate the football club after giving you a handsome contract, by the way, that you've come out last year and said that you deserve that contract, and you come out in a couple of months and say, well, they threw me under the bus, they lied to me, etc., etc. I don't see how he can magically go back to being best mates after that. So I feel like he might still play a part before he goes to AFCON against Brighton. But I feel as if after AFCON, he could potentially leave in January, or at the very least, he'll probably leave in the summer, to be fair. So, but no, it's an interesting one to see how he gets on there, to be fair. Quickly, I know we mentioned West Ham before, but I want to sort of touch on Nuno. And he's obviously lost. When we last spoke, Graham Potter just been sacked from West Ham, and we predicted that Nuno would be the replacement. Like, how have you kind of rated him so far? Do you think he's made a massive difference at West Ham, or do you still see the same issues that you saw under Graham Potter?
I'd say he's tightened up the defence. They've really, they've really conceded. Yes, it may be like 1-0 or 2-1, but they've held that defence more strongly. But on the flip side, as we said, with Nuno's style is the attacking output, and that has gone backwards. It's kind of been a trade-off, basically. We've been scoring less, but then we've been conceding less, as I say, because of the last time we spoke, you just said we lost 5-1 against Chelsea. But not had anything like that. Like Man United rescued the point 1-0. Should have won against Brighton, but then again, with Fernandes coming off at the last minute, who's been absolutely fantastic in that midfield, starting to pick up. And I think he's only 21 as well, which I said we needed a midfielder to be brought in, and he's starting to hold that thing. But as I say, the strikers are the ones that need to pick it up now.
Yeah, I think Potts has done well. I think Potts did really well. I think he started against Liverpool, obviously lost that game 2-0, but Potts was a really good player in there. Very composed, almost like a Declan Rice type midfielder, very neat and tidy, keeps things sort of running, ticking in the midfield. I thought he'd done really well. But I think with Nuno, I think, again, we kind of knew what he's about, right? Set up a team that's hard to beat, a team that's defensively sound, but also going forward is quite efficient. But again, you look at the attacking options with Bowen. Paqueta has obviously been suspended because of his red card against Liverpool. And Antonio leaving, there hasn't been much of an outlet there, right? I think Souček is still playing games, still scoring goals. But I think West Ham do need someone who's reliable, can really get them 20 goals a season. I think Wilson's chipped in with a few goals, to be fair. But at the same time, I feel like they're still lacking that attacking outlet. Even against Man United, if they'll get into good positions, I think Wan-Bissaka was excellent in that game. But when it comes to finishing off chances, it still seems there's a bit of a problem there, right? So, but I still feel like West Ham will be all right this season. I don't think, as much as they're struggling to score goals, I think they'll have just about enough to survive. I think their defensive record will play a big part. I think if Nuno can get West Ham even more tighter at the back, because I think when it comes to relegation, if you don't concede goals, you've got a chance. And I think with West Ham and Nuno's teams, they don't concede many goals. So if they sort out that aspect, I think they'll be okay. Attacking wise, I think they'll find just about enough to get over the line in that respect. Hopefully, anyway. But
it all depends on who they bring in that position in January.
That's it. There's been talk about maybe Joshua Zirkzee going to West Ham. I don't know if that's who they need. I think they need someone who can guarantee goals on a regular basis. I think Callum Wilson's chipped in with a couple, but again, there's a question mark. Is he going to get injured? Is he going to stay fit? You just never know. So I think if they can, find someone along with Jared Bowen to really be a goal threat, then I feel like they'll be just about all right for the rest of the season. But I think to finish off, I just want to talk about sort of the Kobbie Mainoo and Amorim situation. And it's a weird one. I think there's been a lot of uproar from the United fan base about Mainoo not starting games, and Amorim clearly doesn't seem to fancy Mainoo. What have you made of that so far? Because Amorim's sort of come out and defended his decisions to not play at Mainoo. But what have you made of sort of the lack of minutes that Mainoo's had this season?
It has been really strange, the fact that he's choosing a 33-year-old Casemiro. Yes, he's got the experience of Real Madrid and stuff like that, but he's not getting any younger over Kobbie Mainoo, who played all the way up until like when he played for England. He played really well, and even under Ten Hag, most of the time he played really good. But the fact that now there's links of him going out to West Ham, for instance, along with Zirkzee. He's still young. He's only 20. There is still development for the player, for Kobbie. But it is a strange one. The fact that there's a 33-year-old who's getting over the top, over a player who's sort of set to come into his peak.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel it's a shame, really, because you look at the options that they've got in the midfield with Ugarte, Casemiro, and I'm thinking to myself, how is Mainoo not getting at least a run of 2 games or 3 games just to see how he performs in the team, right? But this might not be a popular opinion with the fan base, right? But I look at Kobbie Mainoo and look at the Euros he had with England, which was fantastic last year, and even that whole 23-24 campaign when he scored in the FA Cup final. And I think he, Garnacho, and Højlund at that time was last in the 2023-24 season, were almost like the bright sparks in a very poor season with Ten Hag. And he had a great campaign, went to the Euros, was fantastic. And when he came back, even before Ten Hag got sacked, it felt as if, to me, that Mainoo's performance levels had dipped a bit. I'm not sure if he had an injury at the time, but remember Ten Hag not playing him as much in that campaign before he got sacked. I know he played him in a few Europa League games and he scored a couple of goals, but the performance levels from Mainoo at that time, I didn't think were what we had been used to. But I also remember this season, actually, the 3-1 defeat against Brentford. And Brentford leading 2-1, it's stoppage time. United could potentially get back in the game. Mainoo comes on and he gives the ball away. And Brentford scores to make it 3-1. And I think I even tweeted something and I said, I don't think Mainoo's going to get back in the team after that. Because the fact he gave the ball away to make it 3-1, it kind of said to me, or the manager probably felt, well, I can't really trust this player. And it's not the first time. I remember under Ten Hag against West Ham. West Ham won 2-0, and I think Mainoo gave the ball away and Kudus scored to make it 2-0. So Mainoo's game wasn't always flawless, if that makes sense. He was a special player and a talented player, and we saw that even his goal against Liverpool a couple of seasons ago when he goes in the top corner, great goal. You know, he was outstanding in the FA Cup win against Liverpool in that 3-2 win, and again at the Euro. So this is a talented football player. But I think there's elements in this game that Amram is not really comfortable with, or he hasn't got full faith in him. As much as he's got potential, I don't think he trusts him that much. And I can't see a way back for Mainoo under Amram anyway, because he's not playing minutes, Jake. He's not playing minutes. And I just can't see a way back for him, to be fair, because I don't think the manager trusts him. But again, I think it might come down to formation issues. I think Kobbie plays well in a 3, or maybe sit with another partner in a 2. But right now in this current team, because as you said, he's opting for Casemiro and Ugarte, and I think that's strange. I mean, do you think you'll leave in January, though? Do you think Mainoo's going to leave next month?
I think the fact that you've seen, well, you got Rashford who's left, gone out to Barcelona, he's thriving out there. You've seen Højlund, who was his his partner at the time and mate, he's gone out to Napoli and smashing it. I think for Kobbie to show Amarin that he can do the job, he needs to get some minutes somewhere, and if he's not getting it at Man United, he's got to look for that next club.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure if you watched the Good and the Bad and the Football podcast hosted by Paddy McGuinness and also features Nicky Bart and Paul Scholes. And they spoke about the Kobbie Mainoo issue as well. And Paul Scholes said that he just can't believe how Mainoo's not getting minutes. But he also mentioned that currently at Man United, it seems as if there's nobody, whether it's the manager or people above him in the hierarchy, who really understand the football club, because the decision making, you know, it doesn't have any elements to it as to people who know what the club means, the historic values of the football club, the youth development with Mainoo and other players have gone out. And it was a really interesting take from Paul Scholes. And I kind of agree. I think if you look at Man United's decision making in the last couple of years, and I think with United, when managers come into the football club, they realise it's a massive club and they have to win trophies, right? They've got to be successful. But at the same time, it feels as if they don't really understand the cultural values, the historic values, the way the team was meant to be playing historically, and even just like their decision making with managerial appointments, the signings they've made. Because I go back to Louis van Gaal, I feel like after Moyes left the football club, I feel like every decision Man United made was not a long-term decision, because you brought in Van Gaal, who was, you know, a successful coach elsewhere, but he was an older coach. He was there for 2 seasons. You bring in Jose Mourinho, who has not been anywhere for a long term, right? He gets sacked after 2.5 seasons. And then you look at the signings. You look at the likes of Falcao coming in, Ibrahimovic, Schweinsteiger came in. Nothing really about the club and their decision-making said anything long-term to me, right? And again, you're looking at the likes of Welbeck, who left years ago, Johnny Evans left. You mentioned there, sort of Rashford leaving, McTominay's gone. All these players, right, who knew what it means to play for the football club, like they've all been let go. So people making decisions at the football club, it's a strange. I mean, I said before, Amram's there and he's getting a stick now because he's there now. But remember, he was hired to fix a problem that was there by Ten Hag. So they're making all these different changes, these different decisions. But I feel like the decisions that they're making, they're not really matching what the club's values and what the club means, if that makes sense. Like, what's your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, with Man United, it's strange. The fact that they, as you said, for Sir Alex Ferguson, he was there for years. He was always that top guy. And the second that he left, they knew that, yes, things were going to change. But they've changed systems, they've changed formations, they've changed managers, they've changed players. There's something obviously not right. And as you say, the one that still, as you said, it stands out is the Jose Mourinho area. The fact that he won, I think it was for 3 trophies. Yes, I know one of them was the Community Shield, but he won 3 trophies. And the players that he had at that time most probably half of them, like De Ligt versus Marcus Rojo, it's two different players, but he won trophies with them and still in the end got the boot.
Yeah, but it's weird because I always say as well, like it's just football. I think football's changed. There'll never be an Alex Ferguson. Man United will never be the United that I grew up watching and you grew up watching. It's a different era now, right? But you've still got to still keep elements of the club in their traditional values when you're appointing people. And I think Scholes is right. I think they appoint managers. Managers know they have to be successful because it's United and have to win something. But just the way that they're playing, the entertainment value is boring. There's no the youth development, integrating young players into the team. You know, the signings of certain players, you know, the profile player you're signing, everything seems to be off. And I think when they brought in Van Gaal and he had that summer, 2014 and 2015 summer of madness, when they signed everyone, right, and anyone, I don't think the club really, from that point onwards, for me, everything was done. Because the signings were erratic, players didn't fit. They're still playing for players now who were there years ago who didn't work out with Martial, Di Maria. Do you know what I mean? It just, the signings didn't make sense. So, and I understand that football's moved on, it's a different game now, but there was nothing about the decision making that screamed to me long-term goals or long-term project. Everything was short-term fixes. And it's left us or United back in that position now where they're still trying to find the right solution.
But then again, at the beginning of the season, people were criticising the formation of Amorim. And Crystal Palace, who are absolutely flying at the moment, are playing the exact same system. Yes, they got different players. And actually, Dean Henderson was the goalkeeper at Man United. But they're playing same system. But then Man United come in and beat them as well. So it's it's just weird at the moment.
It's a strange one. I think, again, Palace and United are obviously two different clubs, really, expectation and philosophies, way to play. So I think United, there has to be, as much as we understand it's a different era of football and football's changed, there has to be an element of entertaining football, keeping the values of integrating youth players. And it's not like United have had bad youth players come through recently. They've had talented youth players come through, but it's just not really worked out long term. And I just thought it was a good conversation and an interesting one there. But well, listen, Jay, it's been good to talk as always. Thanks for joining me. As always, to kind of discuss the ins and outs of football, as we always do.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, again, let us know what you think about our decisions, our talk today. Who do you think will win the Premier League? Who do you think is going to get relegated? What's your thoughts on Kobbie Mainoo and Ruben Amorim? Do you think Mainoo should leave? Should he stay? And yeah, I mean, as always, mate, it's been good. And guys, again, keep up to date with our content on YouTube. We're on Instagram, X, and also TikTok as well. And we'll see you all in the next one.